America's building and sites that no longer exists.
Throughout the decades, a number of important and interesting sites and landmarks have been lost, many due to the urbanization of cities. Sometimes they're torn down due to mounting maintenance costs after falling into disrepair, and sometimes they'll fall prey to natural disasters. The years between 1880 and 1920 changed American cities as they went through a period of industrial progress, and to make room for more important buildings, many of the old ones were torn down. Moreover, in the post-war U.S., many structures that represented technical achievements just years before became outdated and were demolished. In this article, we have collected some of the most incredible buildings, train stations, offices, hotels, and many other architectural gems that no longer exist. At least, we have photographs to, somehow, enjoy these bygone landmarks. Pennsylvania Station, often abbreviated to Penn Station, was a historic railroad station in New York City, named for the Pennsylvania Railroad, PRR, its builder and original tenant. The station occupied an 8-acre, 3.2 ha, plot bounded by 7th and 8th Avenues and 31st and 33rd Streets in Midtown Manhattan. Over the next 6 years, the below-ground concourses and waiting areas were heavily renovated, becoming the modern Penn Station, while Madison Square Garden and Pennsylvania Plaza were built above them. Mark Hopkins never got to see the mansion, pictured above, that he commissioned a pair of prominent architects to build for him and his wife atop San Francisco's Nob Hill. The railroad magnate died before its completion in 1878. Sadly, while the building is forever lost, the decadent Victorian palace burned down following the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Beacon Towers was a Gilded Age mansion on Sands Point in the village of Sands Point on the north shore of Long Island, New York. It was built from 1917 to 1918 for Alva Belmont, the ex-wife of William Kissam Vanderbilt and the widow since 1908, of Oliver Belmont. Architectural historians have described the mansion as a pure Gothic fantasy, although it did owe some of its design elements to the Alcazars of Spain and to depictions of castles in medieval illuminated manuscripts. Eventually, the building was demolished in 1945. A new development was later built on the site, but scattered structural remains and the original gatehouse survived. The Chicago Federal Building in Chicago, Illinois was constructed between 1898 and 1905 for the purpose of housing the Midwest's federal courts, Maine Post Office, and other government bureaus. It stood for 60 years until its quiet demolition in 1965. It was replaced with Mies van der Rohe's modernist Kluczynski Federal Building, a far cry from the Beaux-Arts extravagance of this lost treasure. In 1896, Adolphe Sutro rebuilt the Cliff House, pictured above, from the ground up as a 7-story Victorian chateau, called by some the Gingerbread Palace, below his estate on the bluffs of Sutro Heights. The 1896 Cliff House survived the 1906 earthquake with little damage but burned to the ground on the evening of September 7, 1907. The Schiller Theatre building was designed by Louis Sullivan and Dankmar Adler of the firm Adler and Sullivan for the German Opera Company. After a long decline that began in the 1930s, the Garrick was razed early in 1961 and replaced with a parking structure. The demolition instigated a large outcry and is considered to be one of the first wide-scale preservation efforts in Chicago.
If you like this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel.